what's going on, guys? Kalamazi here, and this video is going to be a follow-up video from the one that I posted last night talking about the Warlock 2-piece and 4-piece tier sets for all three specs, which were data mined in patch 9.1. Now, I debated making this video because after I made the tier bonus video, I realized that we talked a lot about, like, you know, certain interactions between, like, talents and conduits and legendaries, this and that. But I really didn't give, like, my in-depth thoughts as to why necessarily I think that, like, AF is, like, the best in a sense, and like really like I gave the ordering of them, but I really explained as to why I'm excited for each one, and like just more what I think is going to change heading into like patch 9.2 and how it affects each spec. So I wanted to go a bit into that in this video. It shouldn't be like a crazy long one. It's sort of a clip from stream because people kept asking about it a bunch, and to be fair, I watched the actual video back and it did seem that I really didn't touch on it a whole lot. Now, some points might be repeated in here a tiny bit, but for the most part, I try to keep it sort of fresh and just stray away from like, hey, this is good because of this, and this, right? In the end, we got to see what happens with Sims and things like that. But I wanted to give my, I guess, feelings on why I think the AF bonus is so good and maybe being downplayed or underplayed a bit. And like, you know, the Destro potential and just demo and, well, really, I guess, how it changes each spec heading into the new raid. But yeah, thanks for watching, guys. If you aren't subbed to the channel and want to see more content or wouldn't mind just dropping the sub in general, feel free to smash the sub button below. We're close once again to 50k subs, which is really cool. And also heads up, similar to the last video, I did indeed change my Twitter handle and also now have an Instagram, which I should be uploading things to probably in the next day or so. I know I'm a little behind on it. I'm sorry. I'm getting to that. Big shout out to all my patrons as well. Thank you a million times for all the support, guys. Once again, heads up, the 9.2 Warlock spreadsheet will indeed be going up, I would say, within a week or so. The tier 3 Fellow rank from my Patreon or higher does indeed get early access to that. So, with that being said, let's get into the video. Thanks again for watching, guys. So, number one, like, when it comes to tier, everybody has their own opinions, right? It's just my opinion. We have not seen legendary tuning. We haven't seen Covenant legendary tuning. We haven't seen Covenant tuning. We've not seen class tuning. We have really seen no tuning whatsoever this entire patch, right? So that could change a lot, right? I mean, they could just say, hey, we buff Rapture anyways for AF, and you get a buff even more. They could nerf Decon. Like, they could nerf Decon technically, and Portal could be better than Decon, and these bonuses don't interact with Portal at all. We'll get to that, right? So like, it's important to take all this with a grain of salt because we talked about it like even in the video last night on YouTube, a lot about like what the sets do and like the interactions they have like with talents and things. We don't really go in depth as to like what it means for the spec, right? So like the 2-piece, by the way, once again, last night the video was ripe. Like WoW had data mined them like that's in a guild named Fat Shark. No, WoW had data mined them like sort of backwards for AF and demo. These are the right 2 and 4s from what I've seen. So like, number one, Rapture's damage increased by 15% for AF, being a 2-piece. And each cast extends the duration of Corruption, Agony, and UA by 2 seconds, right? Now, like we mentioned last night, number one, I'm most excited about AF, probably followed by Demo and then Destro. And AF's 4-piece is when Agony, Corruption, and UA are active on your target. I guess they're active. Your Drain Soul. It doesn't even actually have to be on your target, I assume, which is in general if they're active on something. Which probably should be draining your UA target, I guess. Depends. It is what it is, right? Drain Soul has a 4% chance, and Shadow has a 20% chance to make your next Malefic Rapture cost no soul shards and cast instantly. By the way, I had Bert run the math on this because Bert has a big brain. A full Drain Soul channel will give you an 18.5% chance to proc a Rapture. I knew it wasn't exactly 20 last night in the video. I didn't know exactly what. I assumed it was somewhere around there. I live in Florida. I'm sort of stupid, but not that stupid. But regardless, Bert ran the math. Nether, also has a big brain, backed it up. Yeah, it's like 18.5 over a full drain. But the good thing is like drain has periodic ticks, so that can be better or worse depending how you look at it. Shadow has travel time. Drain Soul's like an instant cast and no travel time, and channel. And it's like if you can get like a periodic Drain Soul tick in, great. Can't get a periodic Shadow Bolt tick in. Regardless, though, like so here's the thing: when it comes to the Affliction 2-piece and 4-piece. Affliction's weakness right now is single target. Like, yes, Malefic Wrath AF is solid, right? We know that. We know more about it now. Therefore, Lord Malefic Wrath is beating Night Fae for me at this point with Malefic Rapture. Malefic Wrath, right? Yeah. But AF's weakness is single target. And maybe a bit of like 2-target cleave, I guess, in a sense, right? But AF is not weak when it comes to AoE. Or like cleave-based settings with DSS being a thing. It's not. It's strong in those settings, right? I mean, Are we the best in plus when it comes to like AoE and like burst AoE with seed and Sow the Seeds and DSS, right? No, but we're good, right? We're probably in the top 3 or 4 classes, I would assume. I'm okay, sure. You've got Windwalker, which can, you know, fart in one mob's direction and kill the next 8 dungeons, and you've got, I think, Warrior's good too, right? Some classes are also a bit bursty. Like, I don't think Aft's issue is stacked like burst AoE. Now, would it be nice to see this like proc a Sow the Seeds cast as well, or a seed cast? Yeah, that'd be cool. I'd like that. But you can still take this rapture value and it translates like some AoE in a sense if it procs on a pack, right? If I DSS dump my shards, all right, I'm draining. What am I doing? I'm draining, right? Because you have like infinite corruptions with seed spam. You've got agonies rolling for 8 years with rolling agony in plus, right? So like if you're draining, you can still proc a rapture. You might not be playing Siphon Life and have all your dots up, but that's still free damage on multiple mobs, right? But the big thing is it's a baseline rapture increase, which does sort of translate to like a single target or like a 2 target, multiple target buff. But it's also like a single target buff, right? Which is the issue that Affliction has. Now, I don't think they should address Aft issues like with a tier set necessarily. It should be like, hey, buff the spec, take away some of the nerfs you put in, right? But this is why I like Aft bonus the most. I'm most excited about it is because it fixes what Aft is bad at. It helps alleviate the issues that with Aft single target, or lack of it, I guess I should say, right? Once again, DSS Aft with Sow the Seeds is already very good in AoE. Look at how degenerate it is on Soul Render, on even Remnant with the right CDs, on in plus in certain fights. Look at Kel'Thuzad, right? Like, you've got Windwalker Monk, then you got Afflock. I don't think this needs to affect Sow the Seeds. Maybe I'm wrong, just my take on it. But that's why I put Aft so highly, is because, like, I think it helps shore up Aft's, like, one real weakness. Yeah, Malefic Wrath might change playstyle a bit, like make you a little slower in certain spots, like a little more stationary. Once you play with it, it's not a big deal. It really isn't. And these random rapture procs can help extend that. Your dots will be active for longer, which means that your Withering Bolt, the conduit, drains will technically gets more value. Like, I think it actually helps Aft a lot in a lot of settings, right? Or the setting that it needs to be addressed in, right? Like, if it was like, oh yeah, it gives you a free seed proc instead of rapture, right? Which wouldn't be a thing in the first place, because seed is like, you know, a sort of niche kind of spender in multi-target settings versus rapture being your main spender. Sure, it's not the same thing, right? Rapture is what needs attention. It's what needs like the focus of Affliction changes, whether it's like tier or baseline buffs in 9.2. They could work seed into this. I would actually like them to I'd like them to work seed into this. Like, I don't need a damage increase to seed. It'd be nice, I guess. I'd take it. Maybe have it proc, like maybe have it increase baseline rapture damage, but like have this be your next Malefic Rapture or Seed of Corruption cast. That'd be cool. Wouldn't mind that. That'd be cool. But I think it addresses Aft's issues, right? So that's why I'm so high on the Aft one, right? And like, it might be a bit excessive. Maybe it's like, maybe it won't pan out as well. But I mean, having these active here, like, or having these dots extended for a long time too, like I mentioned in the video last night, you're gonna have a point in time where you just have like just roll dots permanently. You're just draining, right? You know, like dot. Once again, I think Shelly mentioned as well in his video that like Malefic Wrath playstyle. This is sort of towards the Malefic Wrath playstyle, right? Which I agree it is the single target playstyle. That's what needs help. I don't think Aft needs help in AoE. I don't think it does. And you can play this outside of Malefic Wrath too. You can play it with synergy or whatever. But I mean, yeah, no. Cancel the cancellation. We cancel what? It's not fake news at all. No chance. Like the demo one, for example, right? Like Call of Dreadstalkers gives you a third dog. Like we already talked about it last night. Demon Bolt procs, a third Demon Bolt proc when dogs expire, all that kind of stuff. Dreadlash FTS interactions, and all that, right? And a Gul'dan, giving you a 5% chance per shard spent to summon an imp. When it dies, you get a shard, and it deals shadow flame damage once again, not fire damage, which is, you know, FTS interaction, all that stuff too, right? Like this, the 4-piece, like you can use it for like implosion AoE settings, or it's good in single target as well, right? But I don't think Demonology has some huge weakness, right? Like when it comes to like rating or Mythic Plus or whatever. It's not as good as Aft when it comes to like snap burst damage, right? Like an AoE. It's not. But Demonology has Dreadlash, it has FTS, it has like the sustained AoE build, right? And it has strong damage and decon every minute with Wilfred's, right? Like this plays into it, like we said. Last night, third dog, right? You know, more core proc technically is a bit of a thing there, and a little more of a CDR with Wilfred's, right? And like once again, we talked about last night. If the imp is a part of your main pet set and like an aggressive one or something you have to like kill or whatever, which the wording has been awkward, but we know that if it expires, you get the bonus, right? I think that this is fine. It works with the spec, but like I don't think demonology has like a core issue that needs to be addressed, right? It just works well, right? It works for decon. But like I said, the one unfortunate thing is that it doesn't work well with Nether Portal. Like Sack Souls is just Sack Souls. It's just bad, right? No one cares. It's just bad. But the problem is, like, let's say for example they gut decon, which I don't think is going to happen. But if they gut decon, like there's not really any interactions here with Nether Portal. Like it's fine. You play Portal, I guess, in single target, albeit Demo probably wouldn't be the choice in the raid because of Portal's weird, like awkward timings and stuff. Who knows? But like these just interact well with decon. They don't do anything with Portal, and like realistically, Sack Souls once again is just so bad you don't play it anywhere. But like they work well with like the version of Demo we already have. Like I'm happy with them. Cool. They're a bit RNG, but they're cool. And the baseline dog is gonna change a lot, like we said. Like Dreadlash is probably just gonna be better than Demonic Strength basically everywhere. Probably Carnivorous or Overfell Commando. That's that, right? Like I'm saying is like overall I think AF is better at AoE than Demo. Not as good in single target, obviously, but like this helps shore up AF's weakness. You know what I'm saying? Like the one weakness that it has, I think comparatively more to like Demo not really having one, but having just 2 solid bonuses in general. And the Destro one, once again, listen, with the Chaos Bolt being instant cast and stuff, right? There's a lot of crazy sequencing you can do. If you get like a rain proc, you can cast a bolt. That bolt can proc a rain. If it works with random chaos, we talked about it a bunch as well, right? But if Destro probably needs help outside of a tier set. Destro probably needs some kind of like aura buff, I would assume. But like once again, the insane RNG of this 2-piece and realistically this 4-piece feeding off the 2-piece, it raises that like high-end like crazy RNG like what magical Christmas land scenario where you get like proc into proc into proc into proc. You're rolling multiple infernals, you have random chaos forever, and you're just destroying everything around you, right? Which can happen. That will happen from time to time with this set, you know, it will. But like random fire and single target, not incredibly exciting, not terrible. Proccing a free chaos bolt sounds good. And once again, bolt and single target, not incredibly, or an AoE, not incredibly exciting, but proccing that free rain, or you know, vice versa, like it works, it still works out well. And the infernal sort of rounds it all out nicely because like, hey, it's just shard gen, it's just immolation aura value. And if it procs Reign of Chaos, I wouldn't be surprised to see a shift towards Reign of Chaos a good bit, to like just, you know, give more value with this bonus, right? If you're proccing, I don't know, we did an opener on stream last night, and I cast 8 chaos bolts in the opener, right? Which I don't know. I think that accounts like what, 1 3/4, like almost like 2 infernals in the opener, which is obviously going to be less over the course of, you know, a non Reign of Chaos opener and things, right? Less charge and all that. But if even if you're getting, I don't know, like 3 procs per minute, those procs, if they bring Reign of Chaos, can be pretty insane. And I wouldn't be surprised at all to see it push out Cinders heading into like 9.2. You know, maybe you play Madness, right? Like Cheese was alluding to last night. Maybe you play Wilfred's for just shorter infernals in the first place. I don't know. Cinders might still be good. Not really sure. But you also have DSS to take into account. You have Shard Annihilation for Necrolord to take into account. You've got a lot of legendary combinations. Not LLFL. A lot of legendary combinations and things to like just consider. But in the end, like we don't know if they're gonna buff any legendaries, nerf them. I would assume that Impending Catastrophe legendary gets a buff. That thing is just terrible. Okay, the legendary is not bad, but the ability itself is not good. It probably needs a baseline buff. I don't want to have to play a legendary and a conduit to make my ability good. The ability should be good on its own, and the legendary and the conduit enhance it, right? You know, but like looking at Necrolord, looking at Night Fae, looking at Kyrian, they all interact in certain ways with like Aft's toolkit in a sense. Necrolord, Incinerate, Demon Bolt, Shadow Bolt, Drain Soul, however, whatever spec you're playing. Night Fae, baseline crit haste, which like, you know, that funnel damage, casting your Soul Rot as Demonology, having that Tyrant every minute, having the Soul Rot every minute, that increased multiplicative haste and the additive crit means that's a good bit of like additional push every minute with your Tyrant, right? Because you're playing Wilfred's, I would assume, maybe Dog Legendary, who knows. And then for Kyrian, they changed it in 9.15 again. Like the Legendary gives you like 15% crit whenever the actual buff expires, if you refresh it, right? If the target dies, you get a huge amount of crit, right? You know, and if you line that up with a Tyrant or a Bolt window or whatever, that's extra value there too. But the Venthyr one's just a big blob of like red goo. You just shoot out and it hits things, right? You know, there's no interactions there. So, like I wouldn't be surprised to see an overhaul to like the ability in the first place. Maybe buff to legendary. I don't know, but there's a lot to still take into account. But like that's sort of why I'm higher on like the AF set. Because like I think AF, like if you take AF, if you take each spec, right, like here, let me go full screen for this to like emphasize, right? If you take like Aff, Demo, and Destro, like what's the best at AoE? Barring the huge, like insane, like the insane Inferno, Reign of Chaos, Soul Conduit build you see in the MDI, which like nobody really even plays in Mythic Plus, barring like coordinated groups because they're just pugs can't do that, right? What brings the best AoE? Affliction. What brings the best single target? Probably Demonology, right? And you've got, I guess, weird middle ground with like Demo being good at both, like Aff being better at AoE. Like, what is Aff's weakness? Single target. What is Demo's weakness? There really isn't like a huge weakness. There's some little things that can change certain spots, but like Demo's like good at single target, pretty good, and pretty good at like sustained AoE, right? But Aff is better at AoE, but worse at single target. But if you can bring up Aff's, like, you know, single target to maybe even be the same as Demo, maybe a little worse, but like still that much better at AoE, and with the potential to have like Rapture procs during your AoE in general or single target, that's why I'm so excited about the Aff bonus. Like Destro has just Chaos, which is like, hey, that's Destro stuff, right? But if you can shore that one weakness up, like where is Aff weak? You know, barring this like not being a big enough Rapture buff or like, you know, single target still being lacking, like where's Aff's weakness? That's the thing. It's good in AoE, it's good in 2 target, good in Council. If it's good in single target, where's the weakness at? Doesn't have one, right? That's why I'm high on the Aff bonus. It might not make Aff single target incredible. It might need more buffs. It might, you know, something might get nerfed in the first place, but that's why I'm so high on the Aff one compared to like, I don't even want to compare it to. I'm higher on Aff than I am like Demo and Destro. But once again, Destro has a bunch of hidden potential in it, and Demonology is just good, and it works well with what the spec is right now. I wouldn't be surprised to see Demo as the best spec. If things went live right now, Demo probably still is the best spec in single target. But if Aff is pretty close to it and better at AoE, and doesn't have the finicky, gimmicky kind of like stuff that Demo has at times, like I don't know. There's a lot to take into account, right? But this is why I'm excited about it. I think it shores up Aff's one weakness versus like, you know, building upon Demo's strengths a bit more, and Destro just being, you know, like a huge chaos kind of fueled spec, which is cool with a really high ceiling. So like that's why I feel like I had to explain the Aff stuff from the video last night, because like I cover with the interactions and like talents and conduits and stuff, but didn't really go in depth as to why I think it's better. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I am. Maybe it's not a big enough buff. Maybe it's too big and it gets nerfed. You know, 9, 10, these bonuses are probably going to change anyways, let's be honest, because PTR is PTR. And some classes are going to be incredibly OP, like Boomkin maybe, and other classes, and, you know, maybe they get nerfed. Maybe things get buffed. Not really sure. But I think overall, like, for progression, I think the Aff bonus does the most, or has the most potential applicability in progression-based settings. And I know that I'm not the only person that feels the same way.